Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Tony Piraino, and he is a realtor here in Decatur, Illinois, entrepreneur, Guinness World Record holder. Fitness is a huge part of his life, and I wanted to bring him on here because I've got to know him a little bit over the last couple of years and have really admired his work and the things he's doing. So, Tony, thanks for being with us. And do you want to kind of dive into how you even became a realtor?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun. I've done a couple of these before, but I listened to a bunch of podcasts, so it's fun to be on this side of it, although I'm sure it won't be as good as the ones I listen to. So how I became a realtor, I was actually at the University of Illinois studying for mechanical engineering in 2004-05, and I just happened to be browsing a bookstore while I was waiting for my girlfriend at the time and pick up the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's one of my all-time favorites. Just thumbing through it in the bookstore while I'm wasting time, I'm like, this sounds really good. This is really interesting. So read through it in no time. It's a very basic, simple book about the basics of real estate investing, and it got me just super fired up.
Mm-hmm.
So I started putting together a plan to buy my first house, and it was going to be a flip house, and got that bought in 2004, I believe it was. That flipped that house over the course of the next year, and then got into rental houses. 2007, got my first rental house and started slowly adding on to that. So that, at the time, I was an engineer at Caterpillar, and just because I talk about stuff like that a lot in the office, people started coming to me with questions about real estate, investing, things like that, and so I kind of became the go-to just because I would talk about this stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Mortgage rates, at the time, everybody was refinancing, and so I was recommending lenders and various things. So I just decided maybe it makes sense to get my real estate license. So I did that in 2017 while I was still at Caterpillar as an engineer. That was March of 17, and I was just doing it on the side. It was like helping my friends and family while I was an engineer at Caterpillar, but it started really taking off for me because I wasn't relying on the income that I was making off of it. I was able to pump it all back into marketing, and it started to take over, so I had to go to Caterpillar and say, hey, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing here, but I love this new thing that I'm in as well. Can you drop me down to a part-time role, which is kind of unheard of, but they were able to get me into something part-time there.
Okay. How long were you part-time there?
I think, and I thought that would be okay. I thought that would work out well for me. So I think maybe 6 months or so.
Okay, so it wasn't very long.
It wasn't long. I was in that, and I was very grateful, and I felt bad. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm not giving this the full amount of energy that it deserves, and I didn't want to burn any bridges there, so I just had to resign because real estate was just taking off for me. So it was June 29th of 2018 that I left Caterpillar, and this became my full-time job.
Wow. So, because it's not easy schooling to be an engineer.
Yeah. So it was a 5-year program between ISU and U of I where you get your physics degree from ISU, your mechanical engineering from U of I, and then I went into engineering. I was there for 14 years. So all of that schooling, and then an MBA in the meantime at Caterpillar.
Yeah.
I can't say I don't use it because for sure all of the skills that I picked up and analytical stuff, problem solving, that's something that, although I'm not doing engineering, those skills are still being used in the network, obviously. That
right. You built a lot of probably connections there at CAT and
Yep.
everything. And that's, I just think it's awesome to go from such a career change. Even though you were interested in real estate the whole time.
For sure.
But going from that and then having so much success in the real estate and then being able to transfer that into your career.
Yeah.
Which now you've been doing full time for basically, 6 years now?
Yeah. Well, you asked me before about some of the books, and you haven't asked it here, but I'll just say that one of the things that was really, so Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that kind of got me started in it. But I always knew that I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, my own business. I just didn't know what that was going to be. I loved my job at Caterpillar, but I knew that I wanted to do something of my own. So I read this book called Quitter by John Acuff, which I think that's how you say his name anyways, which was really helpful to me. If anybody's thinking about making a major transition like that, that's scary. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal, especially we got kids and a family to support and insurance needs.
Right.
So losing that, it's a lot. So that book really helped me take a step back and do it the right way over a period of time, and not burn any bridges with my current employer, not do anything drastic, but do it the right way. Because if you quit too soon, then you're compromising, like maybe compromising on how I want to do the new job too. So,
Right. You didn't want to burn that bridge in case
yeah,
real estate wasn't working out.
right.
You kind of had that to go back to
Yep.
with Caterpillar. I mean, I'd always wondered that whole story because I knew you were an engineer, but I remember when you were like, I remember starting to hear your name years ago
Yeah.
in the real estate world because, I do the rental stuff too and flips. And I just was always curious where you made that transition from being an engineer to
Yep.
full-time real estate.
Yep.
So,
That's
I
the
mean,
story there.
yeah, it's hard, I feel like, to do that though. I mean, real estate, everyone thinks if you're a landlord, you just have a bunch of money.
And wouldn't that be nice?
And they don't realize how the monthly part is. I mean, it's number crunching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's purely numbers, and we're playing the long-term game. We're not
Absolutely.
playing the get
Get
rich
rich
right
quick.
now.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the way I've always looked at it. And I know some people have different mentalities, but I mean, cash flow is important, but I've always looked at it as a long-term game, like you said, where even if I'm getting close, breaking even, really in 20 years when they're all paid off, that's where I'm going to need that.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I mean, it's not the right now.
Uh-huh.
It's that long-term play because how many rentals, are there that you're actually making hundreds of dollars a month? It's not.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
Even in this market.
Well, and I started off by managing myself, but I quickly realized I didn't enjoy that part of it. So I do have a property manager involved, Swartz Properties. So I think there's more money to be made if I were more hands-on doing it myself,
Right.
that's for sure. And doing the repairs myself, I could save some money. But especially in my current role, it was different when I was at Caterpillar, and like working on the weekends on a rental house would be okay. But now it's like if I'm working on a rental house, I could be showing houses or listing houses and missing out on opportunities there.
Right, that's true. Do you
Yep.
like having the property management company in general?
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons to you?
For me, it's just that. Like if I'm typically a more hands-on type of person, but it just stresses me out when I'm as busy as I am with the real estate side, the selling side. That the phone's always ringing, and while I may be saving a few bucks doing the work myself or showing tenants my properties, I'm missing out on bigger opportunities that I could be as a real estate agent.
So it's essentially just business decision.
Yeah, it is.
It's just like you're
For sure.
you're not going to save $100 when you can make 1,000.
Yeah, yep. And the same thing with like doing some of the projects at my house. It drives me nuts to have to hire some stuff out, but I know if I'm trying to do my own drywall work or whatever, that's going to take. First of all, it's going to look way better, hopefully.
Yeah.
If a pro does it.
Yeah, if you have a pro do it. Yeah.
But then, the time spent on that is opportunity cost for my real estate business.
Right. So you went landlord first, then the real estate license and
Yes,
everything.
that's right.
Okay, yeah, I was always wondering which way you kind of did that,
Yeah.
if it was which came first.
And it is great for seeing opportunities for my property, I guess, management side. You see a lot of deals before they're even out there, so that's been nice to have too. But if I've got clients looking for those deals, I'll never take those opportunities before they want them. But if I've presented them to my clients that are looking and they're not interested, then whatever. Then we'll see if it makes sense.
No, you've offered us plenty
Yeah.
of things before.
Yep.
Before you took a stab at it or whatever, and I think that's. I know I've had a lot of friends that are worried about getting with certain realtors, like, well, I know they invest too. Like, well, if they're a good realtor,
There's so many opportunities.
they're gonna give their client you the opportunity, and then if you don't, they will.
Yeah. There's too many opportunities to pursue. We don't have unlimited resources, and so yeah.
Right. There really are. Even
Yeah.
in just Macon County, there's a lot of opportunities, and I think especially with the multifamily stuff.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
The problem is not a problem for the sellers. The problem for the local investors is that it's a magnet to all these out-of-state investors right now.
Right. That's what I've been seeing too.
Just-
What do you think caused that? Is it a COVID effect that they were just started looking
Yeah.
everywhere else?
I know some of these investors, what they're doing, they're not even they haven't even seen most of the properties that they've purchased.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've seen pictures or a virtual tour, but they're buying them sight unseen, really getting good deals because they're able to do cash, and these sellers for these particular homes just want to be done with them. And then a lot of times what I'm seeing is then they're just turning around and selling them contract for deed to buyers who can't qualify to buy a home with a loan or don't want to rent anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm seeing. But I think to your question, it's just the matter of affordability. We're one of the most affordable housing markets in the country.
Right.
Our team took a real estate investing class up in the Chicago area a couple of years ago, and that the instructor there was an investor himself and does this all over the country. And as he's asking the room about different opportunities in different areas, we started talking about some of ours, and they were just blown away. Like everybody in there is like, wow, we need to be investing in Decatur.
Yeah, I mean,
the numbers are great.
They are great. And like you said, I mean, I know somebody who has quite a few houses in not so desirable neighborhoods that they were able to buy for 10, 15 grand, 10 years ago. They're selling them to out-of-staters for 30, 35 all day now because it's still, the numbers still work really well. I mean, because you're still renting it for $800 a month.
Yeah, it just worries me that are they going to be taken care of, or are they just going to suck everything out of them and then just walk away from them because they've made their money, and then just is it going to be a problem?
I agree. That's the big difference. When you're local, you care more.
Yeah,
as opposed to just some out-of-state company that's buying packages of 30 houses and
like it's just a tool. I'm going to make a tool. It's not a home to you. Our rentals have, with the exception of one that we bought, and it was just a great deal that we bought from a family member, but the rest of them are just in maybe the higher end rental market, and we try to take care of them really well.
That's the same thing Hill and I do. We don't. I mean, I'd rather buy the $60,000 house than the 30. In the better area and take better care of it. Obviously, with that though comes the higher price tag of a tenant tears it up. But I mean that's just part of the game.
I'm sure you've had some bad ones.
Yeah, I mean only a few. I can only think of a few that were really bad in the last 10 years.
Have you had any hoarders that when they left you had to get a dumpster? And
only one, and I wouldn't say they were hoarders. It was just so surprising. It's just like they got in their car and left. I just had one. Yeah, they left all their furniture, all their bedding, left. I mean, the cabinets were still full of food. I mean, it's literally like they just got in their car and left.
We had that a couple years ago actually, and it's kind of sad. You walk through and like the kids' rooms full of all their stuff, and like these poor kids their parents just walked away from it all. Yeah, had plenty of opportunities to get it. They just walked away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you're going, even if you have to go through the eviction process, they get plenty of opportunities.
Fought it for maybe a year and then just walked away. It's frustrating. So, but I think that's what deters a lot of people from investing. But those are few and far between, those stories, at least for us.
Yeah, so and the same for us. I think that's exactly though. I mean, I have plenty of friends that have asked me about getting into it, but they just hear the horror stories. Yeah. And I know I can think of one person that their first one was a bad experience. You know, their first tenant in their first house, bad experience. They just sold it and said never again.
And then that's what they're telling all their friends.
Yes, and then that's what they're telling everybody. I'm just like, that's rare. I feel like to your first one, it to be a bad experience, and then it's like, and then it goes back to, okay, well, how did you vet your tenant? How did you? True. Did you go through any sort of process, or did you take the first person that had the first month's rent and the deposit?
Which is tempting when you're starting out. Like, I just got to get somebody in there and get some income.
Right, yeah. And now it's like, I'd rather be empty than have the wrong person in there. So, we try to go through a certain process to make sure. What process do you guys kind of go through? Well, Swartz takes care of it for you guys.
They have a good process, credit check.
Right, they go through. They take care of everything for you on that front.
There's sometimes where I'll tell them, because I run into people all the time who are looking for rentals. And I'll ask you if you've got something, or just because.
Thank you. It worked out on one of them.
Good. Maybe you got something open, maybe I do. And if I've got somebody that I trust, I'll send them to Swartz and say, hey, let's rent it to them. I trust them, so don't worry about all the background. So, but most of the time, they'll just find somebody, do the background check, and get them in there.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, That's probably my least favorite part is
Oh,
just
yeah.
is going through that whole process. I mean,
Yeah.
aside from if you have to deal with a tenant that's not
Yeah.
paying, but once again,
For sure.
you don't have to deal with
They
Swartz
do.
deals with that, right?
Yeah. I'm sure this is how you do it too, but they don't even show people the property unless they pass the application.
Right. They have to fill an
Yeah.
application, submit their pay stubs,
That's nice.
everything first before we'll even show it
Because
to
people
them.
just want to jump and see it. Like, no, let's
That's
make sure
the
you're
first thing
qualified
they
first.
ask.
Yeah. We see that in
When
the
can I
real
set up a
estate
showing?
world.
When can I set up a showing? And I'm sure,
Yeah.
yeah, you see it too
Before you
with
pre-qualify.
with buyers.
Uh-huh.
They want to see it, and you're like, can you can you qualify?
Yeah. And for me, when it comes to that, most of the time I will show them one house or like one session of showings if they don't have that already, and then because that gives us an opportunity to meet and build a rapport and talk through that process, and then hook them up with a lender that can get them pre-qualified.
True.
So I'm not gonna. Most of the time, I won't just say I can't show you anything until you get pre-qualified. But there's some sellers out there who won't let us show a house unless we have them pre-qualified, which I understand that. You don't want just anybody walking through your home if
Right.
not
Is
able
that
to buy.
typical, like more the higher end, or is
Yeah.
can it be any?
It can be any.
Can be any.
But it's rare. But yeah, I would say more the higher end. There's some houses that I've shown. I feel like they should have had that as a filter because. Yeah. But like, especially because you got personal belongings everywhere, and you're just always afraid somebody's using you to scope a house out. But so far, haven't had that. The other thing I was going to ask you, the hoarder thing. What was my question going to be for you? Sorry, drawn a blank. Anyways, maybe we'll come back to it.
When it comes back to just ask.
Yeah.
Because so you are a lot similar to Hill and I, because you and Alyssa
Yeah.
are basically a team
Uh-huh.
on all of it.
Yep.
I mean, how has that been how it's been the whole time you guys have been together, or did it start out with, because when you guys got together, did she have her own thing going on, her job, and then you guys slowly?
Yep.
And how does that work for you guys? I mean, because like most people don't want to work with their spouse constantly. I'm blessed because it works out for
It seems
Hill
to
and
work
I.
great, yeah.
We've learned how to work with each other, how to fight fair and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
Perfect. Yeah, good question. So when I started, it was in my previous life with the previous marriage, and we had built some up together. And then when that didn't work out for us, I mean, that was a very amicable thing. We had split up how we were going to handle the properties, but then just building that back up with Alyssa, when she moved in with me, we kept her house as a rental, and we kept looking for rentals together. We've got one that she's pretty hands-on with. It's our executive rental Airbnb, and she likes to work with that. It's a really nice house, and we can find. That's been a great thing for us too. By the way, the short-term Airbnb, and we started out as that being a place for somebody that was displaced due to like fires or anything that could get them out of that got them displaced and living in a hotel otherwise.
Right.
So their insurance should be paying for some sort of housing. So had that rented out quite a bit that way. But in between those types of renters, we just put it on Airbnb and got just a ton of interest in it.
Really?
You'd be, a lot of people, you probably wouldn't be surprised, but a lot of people would be surprised how that market is in Decatur. And it's just like, I think people are used to the idea of if they're going to stay somewhere for work, and they get a stipend, and they could stay at a hotel, or they could have some privacy and stay at a nice house. So
so is it right now? Is it currently rented or Airbnb?
Yeah, no, it's Airbnb. I think though the person who is in there right now, he's in there for 6 months, and he found us outside of Airbnb. Like we had it advertised other places too, but before that, it was pretty regular. It was usually people that were here for a week or so for work. You get a lot of that coming to town.
Really?
And I have heard, I don't know how true this is, I've heard that the hotels get booked up full pretty frequently.
I've heard that about the Homewood right next to the old movie theater in Forsyth. I've heard that about that one.
Yeah.
And the Residence Inn, I guess. I've heard that about that one too.
For sure during stuff you'd think like Farm Progress Show and stuff like that. But
Right.
I've heard even on other occasions they're pretty full.
Does this house stay pretty booked then?
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and once we put it on Airbnb, like between the longer stays, we're able to fill it in. Like sometimes you want a day or two because you need to get in there and clean it. So that part's kind of a pain. And Alyssa does that herself. Cleaning linens and just deep clean of the house between renters. So Yeah, she enjoys it.
Okay.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah. I mean I knew you had the short-term
Uh
one,
huh.
but I didn't know that you guys had gone the Airbnb route
Yeah.
with it sometimes.
Yep.
That's cool. And I didn't know how that worked. I mean, all these towns like Maroa,
Uh huh.
for instance, somebody did that with their house.
Okay.
And then they passed an ordinance against
Oh,
Airbnb
the whole town.
in Maroa. I think everywhere
Oh,
but like Wood Street and Main Street, something
okay.
along those
Huh.
lines, because it was just it was
Yeah.
just like right in the middle of a nice neighborhood,
Yeah.
and they were using it for that. I can't remember exactly. This was like 5 or 6 years ago. This was before COVID.
I wonder what happened if they pass an ordinance that's already there. Surely your grandfather did. Like we'd be.
They made that house. Those
Oh.
people, they said they couldn't do it
Oh
anymore.
man. Okay.
But I didn't know if Decatur. I mean, I know Decatur has some stuff with the lake,
Yeah.
right? I
And
think,
then
but
too.
it's allowed. It's allowed.
Yeah. And Swartz was telling me this. They've gotten notice, like if people do short-term, like nightly rentals in apartment buildings and do enough of them, the city could go after you for like hotel tax sort of thing. Like I think if the
Okay.
hotels find out that this is happening, they pursue that because it's an unfair disadvantage that they
Yeah.
have, right? So
Right.
I've heard of that. That's not happened to us because we've got longer-term people in there for the
And
most
yours is
part.
a house.
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah, no, we had one bad experience with that. And this was shame on me, not vetting out the renters good enough. I think it was one of those where we had a gap and they wanted there, and you just look at the dollar sign, it's like, okay, let's fill it.
yeah.
But it was somebody that didn't have any ratings in Airbnb and just local people that were staying there. And I think what happens is you get local people that are renting these out just to party. They didn't damage anything. It was pretty dirty. But the bigger thing was that the neighbors were calling us very upset that the cops were being called because of the partying and the noise. And so we didn't want that for the neighbors. We didn't want a bad experience.
Right.
For the most part, though, they've all been very good and polite and no problems with the neighbors, though.
Nice. Does Alyssa handle any of the? I mean,
Of the others?
I mean, she kind of helps with like your flips and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
she
and
does.
everything.
Yep, she's in there painting. We got a house we're flipping now. She's in there painting and doing some different things, deep cleans, stuff like that. So, and she'll help me with the real estate side too, with the Brinkhotter side, key team stuff. So marketing and
Yeah.
just some of the administrative stuff too. So that is nice to
Yeah.
have that.
It is nice when your spouse is also your partner.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
anyways,
for sure.
it's been a huge advantage.
Yep.
For Hill and I,
Yeah.
having
We were
somebody you can count on.
about, let's see, not this past November, the November before, she was able to leave her job, which she loved as well. But when you're paying just a crazy amount for childcare, and we knew it would be a better situation overall. Sometimes I know she misses that. It's just the interaction in the work itself. But it's been really nice for our family for her to be able to stay home and help with some of the other stuff.
Right. So you got the real estate going on.
Uh-huh.
You got the rentals, the flips.
Yep.
You got the nightly rental. Anything outside of Macon County? Or is
No,
it all?
I'd love to, but
Is it all just local?
yeah, just look. We've always talked about getting like an Airbnb in a place we want to go.
Right.
So rent it out most of the year and then go use it for fun other times. We haven't jumped into that quite yet. We've talked about it a lot.
Do,
I know
do
you guys-
interest rates affect that at all?
Not I mean, just the market was so crazy
Yeah.
for so long. Some of the places in Florida, it was just insane. However, they are down now in some of those areas that we would like to go to. So it's something we've talked about pursuing again. But just
Florida is kind of the goal.
yeah. I mean, just any of those places that would be like awesome places to go to on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But-
Florida was our original goal.
Yeah.
And we ended up in Branson
Yeah.
because of
makes more sense.
COVID.
Okay, that's what
On a trip, and fell in love with it, and
Yeah.
bought, it is nice to go down there a couple times a year.
Yeah.
The nice thing about Branson is it's a 6-hour drive.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can leave there in the morning and eat lunch there.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody the other day. Their family had a house, vacation home in Fort Myers for the longest time, but now they have a place in the Ozarks, and just much more accessible, pretty fun, more. I don't know, just the demographics a little different there that they enjoy. So maybe that is a place that we should look into, and maybe not just an insane cost like Florida and some of the other markets.
Right. I mean, Florida, because we originally looked in PCB. That was our first. We took that trip, at the beginning of March of 2020. So
Yeah.
right before,
Oh,
right when
geez.
COVID
Yeah.
was like starting to come out.
Yeah.
And we took that trip and looked at stuff. But now, I mean, those same properties are still quite a bit higher than
yeah.
they were in
So-
March of 2020.
How scared were you in March of 2020 for your overall business and the real estate business?
Yeah, I mean, we were really concerned about. I mean, I would say at first I was more concerned about the restaurant side,
Yeah,
just
for
because the no inside seating.
Is that when you built your patio out there at
We had built
Merlin?
the patio in 19.
Okay, because
So
when did you open that?
we opened that building in 17.
Okay, I was trying to remember the numbers on the wall there. That was
Yeah,
when you opened
the
it.
2012 is when we opened originally
Okay.
in downtown Maroa, and then 17 is when we opened the new building.
Yeah.
And we did the patio in 19, so we didn't
Sweet.
we got more use out
Yeah.
of it because of COVID.
Uh-huh.
But I was definitely more concerned about that. But, the biggest thing, I guess, that was the difference between that happening when it did in 2020 and anything else was the fact that, Hill and I were a lot more in depth in our faith
Yeah.
and relying on God as opposed to, if that would have happened like in 2014 or 15, I would
Yeah.
have just, it would have been
Panicked
a
and
lot,
scared.
yeah, it would have been a lot more panic than
Yeah.
it would have been, it is what it is,
And maybe being a small town, were they a little more lax on indoor stuff, or?
The town itself was,
Okay.
the health department was the was the
yeah.
biggest
Yeah.
thing to take on
Yeah.
back then, trying to work with them, which we had a really good relationship with them, and we followed all the rules until once it got closer to 2021, and it's like, okay, we're repeating cycles, and it's not even
Yeah.
making sense now.
And nobody was following.
And most people were like, okay, we're not,
Yeah.
something's not adding up here. I mean, but that's, also what caused us to go to Branson in 21.
Okay.
Because Hill said, we're going on a trip, and
Yeah.
we're going somewhere that's not enforcing masks.
That's cool.
And Branson was not enforcing
Yeah.
any of that stuff. So we went there, and that's kind of how we fell in love with that. But as COVID progressed, the rental side became probably the more concerning side
Yeah.
because of all the freedoms they were giving.
Yeah. Squatters.
Yes.
Yep.
We were very fortunate and only had a handful of people that, probably got, 3 or 4 months rent free and then skated out. But I know some landlords that got hit extremely hard and the state wasn't doing anything about it. They just wanted people to take the hit.
Yeah, that probably got a lot of investors out of the business, actually. At least several that I know that were like, oh, that's it, I'm done.
Yep.
I can't deal with this
Yep.
anymore.
I know a couple that
Yeah.
as soon as they could sell them,
Uh-huh.
they did because
Yeah.
of that.
I was terrified in March of 2020 because, stay home, everything's closed. How are we going to sell? I had just not that long ago left my safe, secure job.
Right.
And going to this where I can't do the things I need to do to provide the income that I'm counting on. So there was maybe, at least 2 weeks of just scared and unknown. But man, as you know, the real estate market just has taken off like insane ever since.
Yeah. I mean, and this is something I was going to talk to you about. COVID's a good segue to it, but we actually get appreciation right now.
Yeah.
And that as investors in especially Central Illinois, there were plenty of houses I bought in 2013, 14 that in 2018 they were worth the same amount of money.
Yeah, you wouldn't count on any appreciation.
I wasn't accounting.
Numbers.
No, that wasn't a factor. It was purely your running numbers, for your rental income to take care of your expenses and hopefully have a little bit left over for repairs, and you're playing that long-term game. But now you do have the potential of a payday down the road when you can sell it.
True. On the flip side, though, it makes our costs go up because property taxes are going up as well.
Exactly.
Yep, and that's what I'm sure you've got a stack of property tax bills.
Oh,
That's a bad day in the mail.
It was not fun, especially when they send mine in just the big long envelope now.
That's what you told me, yeah.
They don't even send it in regular envelopes anymore for me, so it's just a big thick.
And so I'm sure looking through some of those, like they raised the value. How much? Luckily, though, for the most part, from what I've seen, the rates themselves have gone down or stayed steady.
Yes.
But because the
EAV
value
is
of all
up.
the homes are gone. So I'm getting a lot of questions from people about, I always do every year when those come out, like, hey, why did my tax bill go up so much? And for the most part, I'm sorry, but it's justified. They were assessed way too low before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my neighbor's paying less. Well, but you're probably not paying as much as you should be based on what your house is worth. So I don't think I would
Right.
even go there if I were you.
And I'm on Maroa School Board,
Yeah.
so I get around this time is when I get the complaint of my taxes went up because of the school, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it did not.
Yeah.
We did not change the rate
Yeah.
that the school asked for.
Yeah.
That didn't change. Your value of your home, your EAV went up.
Yeah. I find for the most part people don't understand that, which I get it.
No,
If
it's
you're
it's not easy to understand because
Yeah.
why did the system become whatever's on there? It's a third of the value of your house.
Yeah, it's
You
really
know why? I
confusing.
mean, because most people are like, well, yeah, I mean, my house is worth way more than 80,000.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually, no, it's
Three
saying your
times.
house is worth 240.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you got to take it times 3.
And people don't understand the homestead exemptions and
Mhm.
senior exemptions and all of that. So I kind of nerd out on that stuff. I like helping with that. I was on the school board as well for many years. So part of one of the the school for every tax bill is the largest
It is.
taxing entity.
Mhm.
So that makes a big difference for everybody. But it's just interesting to be a part of that and see how those decisions are made. You guys
It
do
is.
your hearings in December. I'm sure you get a big crowd of people. Probably not, right?
No.
Same thing
You know how
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
You only get the crowd when there's something going wrong.
with sports.
Usually with sports
Yeah.
or, anything controversial at all.
Yeah.
Obviously had a lot of big crowds for COVID
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, that was awful.
But
That was one of my worst meetings.
yeah.
I was the president of the board during that, and the whole mask enforcement
Mm-hmm.
time period, and such a difficult time.
And I mean, you're put into a no-win situation
Yeah.
a lot of these times.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to make a group of people disappointed or angry
Yeah.
no matter what. But I enjoy doing it.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Me too.
I graduated from Morel Forsyth,
cool.
so I like being able to kind of give back in that way too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're involved in a lot of community stuff.
Yeah, that was one thing that took up a lot of time for 12 years I was on, and it is the president. We did a lot of great things, and pretty proud of that time. And I still kind of miss it sometimes. We got a new superintendent we hired right before I left because our last great one had retired.
So this is Sarah Gordo, right?
Yeah, Sarah Gordo, yeah. So would have loved to have been on still for a little bit while she took over because everybody's loving her. She's doing a great job. But right now I'm president of our board of realtors. So people don't, I never understood this before I got into the realtor business, but there's like, you've heard of MLS, multiple listing service, but there are different boards of realtors. So there's a Central Illinois, which is like Decatur. It's actually a pretty big area. Champaign has their own board. Bloomington area has their own board. So our board of realtors has like 700 members. That's realtors, appraisers, inspectors, various people that are members of those. Right now, I'm on a 1-year term as a president of that board. So been pretty fun seeing some changes go through there.
What does that board do?
So
what is like the goal or the function
Yeah.
of that?
Good
'Cause
question.
I've
So
never even heard of that board before.
Okay. Well, good. So it's and even when I got my license, when I showed up to the office, like, oh yeah, this is Joe Pat Doolin. He's the president of our board. I'm like, what board? Like the board for brink counters? What's that even mean? Because it's not like they teach you about that
Right.
when you're getting your license. But yeah, so it's really just advocating for your members of that board to give them the right tools and to do the business the way that we see fit as a board. So we just got done with this huge I had a forms committee, contracts and forms committee, reviewing every one of our forms that we provide to our board member or our agents, going through them with a fine-tooth comb, making improvements, rolling that out. So that was one function, is getting contracts and forms that all of our members will use that work best for our members. Tools like our MLS systems and lock boxes, and there's been some major changes to the industry. So
Right.
adjusting to those changes and getting ways for our members, our realtor members, to adapt to those changes as well. So there's a lot there
There's
in
a lot
fact,
of resources for especially a new realtor to actually
for sure.
tap into.
Yeah.
That's nice.
In fact, as that role as the board president, I get to go to DC here in a couple weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's every year there's a National Association of Realtors legislative session in D.C. I've never been to D.C., so I'm excited about
Yeah,
that.
that'll be cool. I want to go to DC
Yeah,
sometime.
and I like history, so it'll be
Yeah.
neat to do some of the touring around there. I'll drop into a CrossFit gym while I'm there, just check it out. But so yeah, just seeing what legislation is coming down the pipeline that could affect our industry one way or another, and then just being an advocate for our area, being a voice for our area. So it'd be neat.
Yeah, that is really cool because there's nothing really like that locally for like restaurants or anything.
No, okay. I'm surprised. There's
You
no
know?
like. Okay.
I mean, nothing that I've been at least made aware
Yeah.
of.
Okay.
So I mean, I think that's
You would think that would make sense for there to be some sort of advocacy group for that, so
Yeah.
you're not all at it alone. But
right.
interesting.
Yeah, something I might look into myself someday when I have free
Yeah.
time. I don't see
Yeah.
that happening anytime soon. So.
Speaking of restaurant, one of the books that I was going to bring up, maybe have you heard of this one? Unreasonable Hospitality.
I've heard of it.
Unreasonable. It's great. I love it. It's
Who do you know who wrote it?
I wrote it down here. Will Guider. If I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. But I mean, it's about a guy who had a Bridgestone 4-star restaurant in New York. I'm going to butcher some of the details, but so you think, why the heck would I be reading this? But it's all about service and hospitality and white glove service and going out of your way to give a better client experience. So. I don't know that you're trying to be a 4-star Michelin restaurant, but it's a really
I mean
interesting
I
read.
like reading those types of books
Yeah.
and reading about how other people's journeys.
Yeah.
Their restaurant industry is my background,
Yeah.
but even real estate wise because of how much we do. But I mean I like all those types of books and whatnot. It's hard to you get that list and you're like, how do I get through all these? Sometimes I listen to the books,
that's good.
but I prefer like sitting down and
read, me
actually
too.
read
Me too.
the book because I
gotta read
feel like I
back over
retain it more
Yeah, me too.
as opposed to if I'm going to listen to it when I'm driving around or whatever.
Yep. That and the book The Power of Moments was another good one that was recommended to me, and just both of those kind of emphasize like the customer experience. Disney does this best probably, and trying to make sure that the customer's experience is really that's what brings them back.
Yeah.
Maybe their food was delicious, which by the way yours is. I love that. Every time I finish a challenge, that's where I want to go to celebrate. Pizza and you guys got the fried green beans. Thank you very much. But yeah, the customer experience and just like that's one of the things I love about going to Crawford's and Monroe. Just the building is so nice. You're going for more than just the food. It's the setting and the experience.
Trying to make it an experience.
For sure.
But one thing that I've really admired about you the last couple of years is how I think your marketing strategy is really good.
Thank you.
And not just because I feel like your team is really active in the community things. You guys try to make an effort to be in the parades.
Yeah.
You make an effort to do all the things, I feel like. How do you, is that just like your guys' marketing strategy, or is that just something you just purely enjoy doing?
Yes,
Combination
we enjoy
of
it. I think
both?
you have to enjoy it, or else it'd be dreadful. But I don't enjoy golfing. The girls do, luckily, so they're in a lot of golf tournaments, and we sponsor a lot. You get hit up all the time, I'm sure, with this stuff.
Yeah.
Sponsor hole, and a lot of this is like, I don't know that we get anything out of sponsoring a hole of a random tournament, but also. These are people that we've interacted with before, and it's important to them, so we want to support what's important to them. So we do that. I feel like we sponsor every T-ball team and baseball team.
But I think that's, those kids will wear those shirts the rest of the year, or whatever. I feel like that's the parents remember who supported their kids in sports and their extracurriculars. So I think that's. And I agree. We do a lot of the whole stuff, especially out in Mowequa, because there's the golf course there. So we get asked all the time to do the whole sponsor.
It's hard to know when to say no, right?
It is hard, and we're not the best at it for sure. Trying to differentiate. We have to certain things, but it's just it's hard to tell.
That's one of the nice things about a team. Well, for two reasons. A lot of nice reasons about having the key team. But we can pool all of our money together in what we call our war chest, and we use that to do it in volumes, the marketing. But also, as we get all of these random opportunities that come our way for sponsorships, we can talk about them as a team. Whereas if it was just me, it'd be hard to say no. But if we can talk about them as a team and like,
Sure.
okay, this one we just can't say yes to every single thing, and we're gonna have to table this one until next year. And the girls will come up with some really good opportunities I've never heard of. Ashley just brought up doing the the Shoreline Classic run, sponsoring that, which we're looking forward to trying to do that. We're getting ready to support the 9/11 stairway climb at the hotel out there in Decatur, but people think it's Mount Zion, but it's Decatur.
Right.
But I love that. I've done that the past couple of years, and we're supporting it. They don't want it to be a commercialized event, so we're not like, oh, the stairway climb sponsored by a key team, anything like that. But what they really wanted, and I told them last year, I love what they do. I really want to find a way to support their event, and they said, well, we really want to purchase this fireman's bell. It's like a ceremonial bell that will be rung. That for fire stations is they ring it whenever they lose somebody in the line of their work. So they wanted to purchase the bell as a way to honor the people that fell on 9/11. And so the way they're going to do that is, have you ever done the stair climb?
I haven't.
It will have to take you a long time. It's Robin and Justin Krause and I have done it together the last couple of years. Anyway, so when people complete it this time, they'll be able to ring the bell in honor of those who fell on 9/11, obviously. So our team is purchasing that bell for them, which we're honored to do. I think it'd be pretty neat to.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the creativity that you guys have had with
Yeah,
it.
and it's got to be something that's important. Like
Right.
if we just, that's the other thing. One lesson I learned about getting on different boards and such. Maybe a board would be recommended. Like, you should get on this board; it'd be perfect for you. I've gotten on them for the wrong reasons before, because people have said this would be great for you.
Mm-hmm.
You should do this; would be good for your business. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll join that board too. But if you're not into it, it's like it can be for one, you're not going to be a great board member,
Right,
by
right.
any means. Two, it's just going to be a drain of your time. And there's other things that you could use that time for.
Are you just doing the one board now?
I'm on another board right now, the Kirby Foundation in Monticello.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been on that most of last year and this year. I believe it's a 4-year term. So if I'm remembering right, I think I'm just on those two right now. Hopefully, some have come and gone. So
Yeah, I'm just doing the Monroe First High School
yeah,
board. Is the
that's
only
plenty.
board.
That's
yeah,
a lot.
It is
School board,
because
are they long meetings?
They used to be really long.
Yeah.
I think we're in a good place right now, and hour and a half is probably
That's good.
typical, which I'm fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine. The ones that it's 10 p.m. and you're still there, those are
Yeah, and then we don't get through it all, so we got to have a special meeting to follow up. And
right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
exactly.
COVID was a terrible time to be on the school board.
So the stair climb. I mean, the stair climb thing kind of leads into one of the questions I
Yeah.
had. The world record that
Yeah.
you went for. What motivated you to even want to do that?
Yep.
And for anybody that doesn't know, it was the most body squats.
Squats, yep, in 24-hour period. So, and I gotta unfortunately say, someone has already beat that, which I knew would eventually happen.
I heard that. I'm just like, gosh.
Yeah. So I held it for a short amount of time, and someone beat it. My number is 26,100. I think he got 27,000, and so I would totally do it again, I think, and know I can beat it, because I have how many squats I did per minute for 24 hours. All I got to do is many more in this minute.
Right.
Alyssa is adamantly opposed. My family is adamantly opposed, and for good reason. I ended up in the hospital with rhabdo on that.
Yeah.
Rhabdo, for people who don't know, is it's what it is muscle fibers break down when you do too many exercises. So this was a risk, right? This is a high volume, and can cause kidney failure, and you could die. So it's a bad thing. So I was in the hospital just on an IV for the weekend after that. I knew it was a risk. I was trying to avoid it, did everything I could to avoid it, but that's just too high volume.
Yeah.
anyways, what motivated me to do it? You and I were both doing. We didn't know it, but we were both doing 75 hard at the same time.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, 23. And when I was doing that, I was reading the book by David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. Did you ever read that one?
I haven't. I've listened to some David Goggins
yeah.
stuff, and obviously, I like his stuff.
If you can get past the language.
Yeah.
His message is good, and I think about that stuff all the time. And I won't go into too much detail, but after reading that book, listening to podcasts on the way to a wedding one summer a couple of years ago, I was hearing him talk about he set the world record for pull-ups, and I just thought, man, that'd be cool. I definitely don't want to try to beat David Goggins' record, but is there something I could do? And that night, I did the calculation. I'm like, I can beat this world record for air squats. And I started that night, and Alyssa's with me, and she's just rolling her eyes. Another stupid thing Tony's doing. I started just working on the pace that I would have to sustain for 24 hours. And then I was sore the next day at the wedding, but I was telling my brother, hey, I'm going to go for this record as soon as I can. Applied in June, got word that my application was accepted by Guinness in, I think, October. So like, okay, it's official. I can go for this record. Now I really got to start training for it. And I set the date for April 4th of last year to do it. Got the plan, started working on the plan. You opened up your gym for me to do it there, which was awesome. In fact, let me sleep the night there. I think that was so big for me because, if I would have slept the night at my house the night before, there'd be distractions, kids, dogs. I'd be worried about getting there in time and just anxiety. So had the whole gym to myself, quiet other than the random noises that come up at the gym.
Yeah, what is that? The sprinklers compressor or whatever when it goes off randomly. And
scared the crap out of me in the middle of the night. But to just wake up, shower, be there, have my mind right, I think made such a big difference. And then, 24 hours of just suffering. It was terrible. But that was something. I had to have a plan. Like, I had to have a certain number I had to have 2 witnesses at all times. So I had a whole thing planned out. I had how many I'm going to do per minute. I had my food plan, nutrition, all that stuff was planned out. But what I didn't plan for that just happened, which was amazing, is the people that were there, like coming up and massaging my knees and back and things I didn't ask for, but I wouldn't have made it if they weren't doing that because, it's not like I ever did 24 hours leading up to it. I was shorter.
Because I saw you do an 8-hour, couple 8 hours, right?
Yeah, that was bad enough. But it's like, okay, if I can, as long as I can maintain this this pace, I'll be fine. And for the most part, I was. I had increased my goal leading up to it because I heard this other guy was going for the new record, so I wanted to try to overtake his. But so I think going into it, the previous record was 25,000. I was going for I didn't want to beat him by 1. I think that was a smack in the face. So I was going to beat him by at least 1,000. But then I was hoping to get a couple thousand more. It just didn't happen. But if I redid it, I know I could.
Yeah. I mean, that was what was cool, watching it.
Yeah.
Was, so many people
came
and were watching. Even at crazy hours.
Yeah. I figured it'd be ghost town middle of the night. But, people were there all night long.
But, people were coming. I know a lot of people that didn't even know you that started watching the Facebook Live.
Yeah.
The last, couple hours of it.
I was getting messages. This was really cool. Well, the school, my kids' school at Sarah Gordo, they were playing it live for the classes, and then I didn't know they were going to do this, but they started having activities there. What if you were to set a record? What would it be? So they had a lot of things around it there. That just happened naturally, and I still get the random just somebody I have no idea who it is from across the country will send a video of their kid, because the kids are the ones that think it's the coolest part.
Right.
A video of their kids saying, "Hey, I'm coming after you, Tony." If you're, I love that.
That's why you want to do it again.
Yeah, I hope my kids would beat my record.
Right.
So, I knew it was going to happen eventually, so that's no big deal. But I think I could get it again. But she didn't like the idea of the hospital bill again. Understandable.
You think you'll talk her into it?
I don't think so. I don't think she's pretty adamant. Well,
pretty-
if I did it again, I would do it like no fanfare. I did it with the fanfare because we did it as a donation. We raised money for Marion County Horizon Center at the time, so I didn't want to do it quietly. If we raised $15,000 for them, which is really cool,
Right.
as a part of that. And most of the time when people do the Guinness records, they pay a ton of money because they pay for Guinness people to be here and various things, and it makes it a lot easier. But I didn't send them a dime, other than getting the certificate printed at the end. But we raised all this money for the Marion County Horizon Center, who says Marion County, but that's where they started, down in Salem, Illinois. But they're all over our area too. They have homes. You've heard of the Tim Tebow Foundation, the Night to Shine. So they have residents who go to that every year, but homes for developmentally disabled, just really nice. That, again, there are many other people who do group homes for that cause, but they put so much into those homes and make it a good experience for their residents. So it's really cool to be able to support them.
That is cool. Do they have some in Macon County?
Yeah, they have quite a few actually.
Really? Okay.
And so this then goes into an activity fund. It's not for their business at all. That goes into that $15,000 went into an activity fund, because a lot of them don't have extra resources,
right,
to go out into the community to do stuff. So this is for them to do various things
That's
outside
awesome.
of
that's awesome.
Yep. And which is cool. They brought a group to the actual record day, so they were watching, cheering me on, and it was pretty neat.
That is neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't blame her.
Yeah.
That had to have been hard.
Oh yeah.
Not just on her, but I mean,
she was stressed out. She was there for the majority of the time, and at one time, and this is kind of a funny story, maybe like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, I guess I looked pretty gray in the face and did not look good, and probably a lot of people were thinking I wasn't going to make it, including myself. So my team hadn't told me this, but they were planning to come back at like 1 or 2 and be in AM and be there for the rest of the time. But they were telling each other, like, behind my back, there's no way he's making it. I think we can sleep in. And then they're all watching the live from bed, and then and they're like, uh-oh, I think we're going to have to go back in. So they all did. They showed up at like 1 or 2 in the morning with coffee, and then stayed there for the duration of it.
Yeah, because you ended at, what, 5 a.m.?
5 a.m., yeah.
Right?
5 to 5, yeah. Yep, so it was rough. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but
I
it's
mean,
good experience.
but you were doing it more for the mental challenge
Yeah.
than anything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was kind of like the driver was,
yeah.
why can't I get a world record?
Yeah.
And then
And then I have kids asking me, so how many world records do you hold? I'm like, what the heck? Is one enough? Like, oh, I think you should do this one. I'm like, push-ups, okay, let me look at that. Holy cow, I forget what the number is.
I actually looked at that one, and I'm like, how?
I do not understand. I feel like the squat one is one that a lot of people I know could do if they really wanted to. I get it. People wouldn't want to. The other one I looked at, holy cow, have you seen how long the plank record is?
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I mean, it's
like 8 hours for the male. We just did 7 minutes yesterday in the gym, and I was shaking uncontrollably, like trying to stay up for 7 minutes. And even I just can't imagine. Jan Matthews, I was talking to her at the gym this morning. She has a friend, I believe she said. I think she said Wisconsin, who she just told me that this morning, who's going for the women's plank record. She's been training for it, and I think maybe in a month, and she's going to live stream it.
Gosh.
I think she said she's up to 4.5 hours. Can you imagine?
No, I can't. I don't even want to do 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, and she's gonna, like, she's practiced and is able to break it already. So just the official date is coming up. So that's insane to me. The logistics of, at least I was able to walk into the bathroom.
Right.
Like, what do you do when you're in a
that's
plank position?
that's my thought. How do you go to the bathroom?
I don't know. I guess you got a tray under you or wear a diaper or something. That doesn't sound fun.
No.
And I was able to, you guys brought Crawford's pizza, and I was able to eat and drink and walk around a bit. You're just stuck.
Yeah, you're just, no shower.
Yeah.
No bathroom.
Yeah. So I did the marathon, my first marathon a couple weeks ago, and everyone like, oh, you'll be fine. You did squats for 24 hours, you'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. This is a completely different animal.
Yeah.
And truly, I was thinking about that the whole time. Like, oh, I could squat for 24 hours. I can do this. But your body has a different opinion. And
Yeah.
and,
Was it hard?
and
I knew it was hard, but
yes,
was it more hard than you thought it
I
would
felt great until mile 17, where my legs just cramped up completely, and I had to stop and stretch them out and walk a little bit, walk it off. But my goal was to not walk at all, which failed that goal. But I just couldn't. I couldn't do it anymore. My body was just cramping up in weird ways that had never happened when I was training. So now I got to try that one again too.
Is that going to be? Are you going to do that one this year?
I'm gonna do it. Eventually I do another one, but
yeah. I mean, I think I would like to say I want to do a marathon eventually, but
it was fun, and there's some pretty cool ones. You ever listen to The Ultimate Human? Gary Brecka, I think is his name. You ever listened to that podcast?
I've heard some of him on podcasts, but I don't think I've heard his specific one.
Yeah, those are really good. But he was talking about this in a Joe Rogan podcast recently, where he and his son. Have you heard of this? 7 marathons in 7 continents.
I've heard of it. Yes. Yes.
Marathons around the world or something.
I might butcher this a little bit. There was a girl in my graduating class. Her brother did it.
Oh my gosh.
Her older brother did it. I'm pretty sure that's the one he did because he did 7 continents.
Oh man.
And it was like 7 marathons in a certain amount of time.
Like 7 days. I think it's it's literally jump on the plane to go to the next place and.
Yeah, it was crazy because they talked about it at the school and everything.
That's incredible.
But yeah, he did it. I mean, like they're showing pictures of him in like Antarctica, in snow gear.
I can't imagine. Like even doing that one just alone, I think would be awful.
Yeah.
To be that cold for that long, and then get on a plane and go to. They talk about Istanbul, sore subject, but Istanbul is at the border of Africa and Asia, and so you can hit both.
Yeah.
Or Europe and Asia. Now I'm drawing a blank in my geography, but anyways, there's 2.
Right.
So you hit those 2 and Australia. And then you're in South America where it's like 100-degree humidity.
Yeah. But it'd be cool to do.
It'd be cool to go along and see but not to do.
Yeah. I mean, plus it's not going to be a cheap.
I was looking at it because now that I've like Google searched it once or maybe talked about it or even just thought about it, my Facebook feed is
full of it now.
And it keeps advertising to me. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do that one. But I just clicked on it. Like, if I was to do it, what would it cost?
Yeah.
It was like $40,000. And I don't know if that was like everything, flights.
But still.
I mean, you got to be loaded just to.
Yeah. I mean.
Great shape and loaded. I'm not either one of those, so I won't. I'll stick with the Champaign Marathon.
You're in great shape.
Well, not that kind of great shape.
That's a different kind of shape to be able to do that much running. Yeah. But still. I mean, CrossFit's obviously huge.
Yeah. For
you. What got you into CrossFit?
I was a CrossFit hater before I started doing it. I was always like on the other side of the gym.
The make fun of people like, you're in CrossFit, so you only talk about CrossFit.
100%.
Those jokes.
Because, at Caterpillar, at the time I was going to, I can't think, the YMCA. The YMCA every morning at 5, just lifting weights, just doing my thing that I had done for many years before, seeing great gains and then, but not talking about it, right?
Right. Yeah.
At the office and cranked away at my work, and all these CrossFit buddies would merge with my next door neighbor, and they'd all talk about how many reps they got and what their time is, and they felt like they needed to tell me every movement, how many in each the workout, and I think that just really was a turnoff to me. Like, guys, I don't care. You didn't hear me telling you about every round rep I did in my workout because it's boring. So then when my major life change happened and had some more free time, I decided to just try it. And I quickly fell in love with it just because, to me, the biggest thing was the community. That was the time in my life where I really needed that.
Yeah.
So that was so big. I threw everything into that in my real estate business, and I really needed that. But then just the competitiveness of it, now that can be a bad thing too. But never too bad, right? I mean, you're a competitive guy.
Yeah,
it's just fun. Yeah. If nothing else, to compete with yourself, a previous workout. And so that Hero WOD challenge that we've got coming up is really cool because a lot of those are workouts we have done before over the years and have logged times for. So we're not necessarily competing against each other. doing the workout to honor the fallen hero that it's made for, and seeing how well we can improve. Like, you're suffering during a lot of these workouts. And really regretting your life decisions, but afterwards, like, yeah, I did it again.
And you have something to compare it to.
Yes.
On a lot of them.
For sure.
That's nice.
Yeah. Which you do, too, when you're lifting it on the other side. Like, I'm keeping logbooks, you used to anyways.
Right.
Making sure you're going in the right direction. So, yeah, that's been... So I started that in 2017, I believe. I think, like, the original CrossFit game. It was at CFE at the time, CrossFit Enhanced, right by Caterpillar, which was really convenient. It closed down during COVID.
Yeah.
Robin, luckily though, started up Crack there in what was Club Fitness before you guys took over.
Yeah.
And it's just a great group of people. It was so sad when our huge CrossFit Enhanced gym, we basically split up. Everyone went their own ways, and so now we've got our own community, but we still... I like to drop into the other gyms too, just to work out with some of my old friends at their gyms too. So that's what's and also I would have never done this before CrossFit. Like, I guess I would have just worked out in a hotel gym when I was traveling, but now when I travel,
you drop in.
I do, and just to see how other gyms do it and see what their community's like, and I just love, most of the time when I do that, they're very, very friendly and outgoing. So I always try to do that when we have.
Have you ever had a bad experience on a drop-in?
I don't think so. Well, I would say yes, but it was before I did CrossFit. I was traveling to Little Rock, Arkansas, for work, and I dropped in with my CrossFit friends who were pushing CrossFit on me. I'm like, okay, I'll try this. Well, keep in mind, I worked out regularly anyway. So, and abs, of course, I always did those. So they had this thing called a GHD sit-up in the workout, and 100 of them. I'm like, okay, well, I'm good at abs. I can do that. By the way, if nobody's ever done GHDs, don't do 100 of them in a workout.
Yeah.
Because that was my first time getting rhabdo, was doing 100 GHDs in a workout. GHD, if people don't know, you just got a new GHD machine. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you do many of them?
I've never done that many. I'll do a handful of sets of like 10.
Yeah.
You know.
For people that are starting, I think 50 is plenty. It really depends. Like, I've tried to get my daughter to do some today, but I would have cut her off at probably 25 based on this experience. Well, this coach at this particular gym didn't take any of that into consideration. Knew I didn't have any CrossFit background. Allowed me to do the full 100, and he could tell. I was suffering. I was it was hard to get through it. Well, the whole weekend went by. Some of the telltale signs I didn't know at the time were rhabdo, and so that's I got lucky that nothing major came of it, but it was very uncomfortable. And so that was I say really my only bad experience is that I think the coaches make all the difference in the gym. If coaches don't coach and don't correct bad movements or make sure people are scaling appropriately, that can be a really bad thing for people.
Yeah.
So like for these hero WODs, we published what the standard movements and reps and weights and all that. But for sure, people shouldn't be afraid of that. We want people to scale back.
Right. No, I feel like Robin does a good job of
she does.
Making sure people ease into it, even if they look like they're already in shape.
Yep.
She still has them start out less.
Yeah.
Than even maybe what the workout recommends.
Unless you've been going there a while and then she pushes us too hard.
Yeah, well, but that's the goal, right? That's what you want out of her.
Yeah, she does good. She knows who she should and can push.
Right.
Which is what we want, yeah.
Right. I've seen a couple new members, and she's really good about, hey, no, do this weight instead. I know you think you can do this, but by the end of the workout,
true,
you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So just get to a weight that you can finish the workout.
Yeah.
And build that stamina, because it is a different level of stamina than being on the other side of the gym where you're just lifting weights.
Taking rests, and which I was just talking about. My daughter did CrossFit with me today.
Did she like it?
At 6. She really did, and
Good.
She's gonna keep coming back. She says, anyways. But we talked about it. She said, "Well, I do like to just lift sometimes too." She's big into volleyball and wants to just get better every day. And I said, yeah, that's always been my goal too, is to mix in lifting with CrossFit, which Robin programs it in that way, but even just more focused on just the lifting, which is what I love about RTB is you got both.
Right.
You got both options there.
Yeah. And I think that's a big advantage that Robin kind of has
Yeah.
with Crack is that
For sure.
you can do both.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know if any other CrossFit gym around here.
Not that I drop into a ton, and I'm looking for what do people do differently, and no, that's a pretty unique thing. CrossFit Enhance had it as well, but that was unique as well, just because it was financed by a hospital.
Right, right.
So, and KMC and Monticello does is well have that to some extent, but for like owner run like a small business, that's really unique.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So what are some tips you'd give somebody that wants to like get into CrossFit or working out in general?
It's so scary for people and intimidating. I would say partner up with a friend that you know does it and just try it and just know that in fact, if I have somebody come with me and they want to, like my daughter Isabel this morning, we had to do these things with a kettlebell. She's like, no, I can do the full, what we call RX weight. I said, you think you can when you're fresh, but
Yeah.
please just scale that back. I don't want you to get hurt and regret it, because then you'll never want to come back
Right.
either.
Right.
So
I've known plenty of people that they
Yeah.
go,
Ego.
they do the RX, and they're so sore
Yeah,
for a week that they don't want to go back.
yeah, but it's just ego and knowing to, and so that would be the other advice is just leave that at the door. I get my ego checked on a daily basis because I got people beating me in a workout, which is fine, and then another day I'll beat them. So
Yeah.
it just depends what the workout is. So yeah, just try it. These hero wads would be a fun one to try. Like the Murph would be a great one. Memorial Day, this coming Monday, would be a great one for people to try, just because I always think it's fun when there's a bunch of people doing it together.
Yeah.
It's just a good environment. And that one, though, when you look at the workout, it's really intimidating and scary, but there's so many different ways to scale that back just to get a bit of that experience and still honor the cause.
Yeah.
So that'd be fun. I'm going to bring my Blackstone grill breakfast for people as they're doing it.
And that's the thing. I mean, the community. I mean, I feel like the whole gym, Crack has its own community, but I feel like the whole gym kind of has a good community of just, working together and everything, and just, people using both sides, and people kind of the community aspect. I think is something really unique with our gym, how we bring the whole gym together.
Well, and I hope, because on the RTB side, you guys have so many law enforcement members and first responders. I hope some of them will join us in some of those hero workouts. That'd be fun. And then I know everybody's very excited about. Can I talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, very excited about what's coming
Yes.
soon.
Yeah, we're excited to.
Infrastructure's going in.
Infrastructure is
It's
in,
so wet.
and now Forsyth just approved the contractor for the road.
Oh, awesome.
So now all that stuff can just start moving forward. That road can start to get going in June,
Nice.
and then we'll start getting our concrete foundation in, and the building will be
Okay.
here.
So it
before
was
we know
really, that was somewhat holding up. You knew it was going to be.
Right. Well, there was no point in speeding up, going full force on our project when we need a road to get to the building.
Yep.
So
that you're thinking sometime this fall?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're still.
We know how construction can
We
go
know
sometimes.
how it can go, but we're very
Yeah.
very hopeful for this
that'd be
fall,
awesome.
and I think that's kind of perfect timing, getting in there in mid-fall.
Yeah.
And just being, having it everything set before the holiday season, and then
Yeah.
because you get that uptick
before the New Year's?
Yes,
Yeah,
you get that
for
uptick
sure.
in January
For sure.
for everybody.
And I'm sure you guys know that some people, it'll be too far from the other end of town.
Sure.
So that's unfortunate. You can't be everything to everybody.
No, but we're hoping that we kind of add those,
Yeah.
the small towns
I
that
think
aren't
so.
driving to the north side of Decatur right now, those
Yeah.
people.
I've talked to many people who said that once this new gym that they hear about comes, that's where they'll be going.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. What are some of the extras that you can talk about that you're planning?
Well, having the basketball / volleyball pickleball court indoor
Oh yeah,
will be
My dog will
nice,
love
and
that
the
ball.
walking track above it
Nice.
will be nice because it's gonna be 2 stories. So then all the cardio stuff will be upstairs is kind of the plan right now, and hopefully adding in a whole sports aspect to it with mainly driven towards kids and having
Awesome.
And
And Monroe Forsyth likes their sports.
Roper's had like 6 points, and adding that stuff in there, we're excited about. And then obviously we'll have the normal lifting and the CrossFit stuff.
Yeah.
Still on the main floor, and everything. So
You asked members to fill out surveys of things, some of the extras that they'd like to see in there.
Yeah.
I've filled it out. I don't know if you got many people filling stuff out, but
we had a handful. It wasn't a ton.
Yeah.
Not as many as we were hoping for, but we're going to try and do it again.
Yeah.
This summer.
Yeah, as
and
you get closer, people
yeah,
get
as we
excited.
get closer and people get more excited. I think people will be a lot more excited once the building itself is up.
Oh yeah.
Once it's up and visible, then I think we'll get a lot more.
My kids are so tired of me when we drive by saying that's where the new gym's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, we know. It tells every time. One of the gyms that I've dropped into, CrossFit, East Nashville, I think it was, huge gym, and it's just CrossFit again. But they have this separate section where, and it's like you can pay an extra monthly fee to use this on a regular basis or per time, but it's just like a really nice sauna, infrared sauna, and like a nice ice bath, which I feel like I don't know how you keep it clean, but I think some of those are keep themselves clean. But
yeah, some of them now they make them and you can they actually just kind of like a pool or whatever.
I know those would be big investments. You've already been investing in.
Yes. Well, the new gym will have saunas.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. Okay.
So it'll already have that
Yeah.
in one of the locker rooms.
Yeah. Yep. Probably don't want tanning beds after.
No. We were going to do tanning beds in before, and now it's
You were?
No, we weren't.
Oh, you weren't.
We
Okay,
weren't
okay,
doing
yeah.
tanning beds either way,
Yeah.
but yeah, even more so of that,
You always have. This had nothing to do with your gym, another gym in town, but
Yeah.
you're always going to have the creeps out there.
Yes.
And I felt bad for that gym because it had nothing to do with.
Yeah, it's something they did.
It was a member who did
Yeah,
something.
yeah, exactly.
inappropriate.
There's nothing. I mean, I don't think there's anything they could have done
I
to
don't know how you
prevent it,
would.
but I don't know. I mean,
Just sweep for cameras.
yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know. Do you have any last? I mean, we've talked about some, but
Yeah.
like some books or podcasts that you would recommend, especially somebody early
Yeah.
on, and or any investing tips that you would
Yeah.
give like a first timer.
Yep. You had to read a lot during 75 Hard, so I enjoy reading anyways, but just never could prioritize the time. So anyways, during that, I got through quite a few books, and one of my favorites from that experience was Atomic Habits. Have you read?
I have read
Oh, I
Atomic
love
Habits,
it.
and it's good.
And read it again my last time going through 75 Hard, and I just picked up on some new things and made some real changes based on it. So I thought that was a great one. But I think everybody recommends that book. So
I really like that one, and I like. Have you read High Performance Habits
I
by
don't think
Brennan
so.
Burchard?
No, I know. I haven't.
That's a good one. I read that. I read it once, and then I read it again during 75 Hard.
Okay.
A couple of years later,
Yeah.
because I agree. I think you can pick up on totally different stuff the second time you read it if you give it a little bit of time in
Yeah,
between.
true. With time between.
Yes.
You've implemented some of it, know what works for you, what doesn't. Comfort Crisis was one I really liked. It just talks about we're all so used to, one of the things that really stands out to me is like we're all so used to being in 72-degree homes, and like we never get outside of our comfort zone. You go stand in line. I think about this all the time, even though I'm guilty of it too. Anytime we stand in line, we pull out our phone and we're checking just because we don't like being bored. And so, like, and again, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of liking to be comfortable, but it just talks about being uncomfortable being comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. So whatever that means to you, I just think that's a good thing to be thinking of. Let's see. Other ones, talked about a lot of these actually. A couple of really short books that I really want my kids to read, and they're just really good short lessons. I heard about this. I heard the author of this actually go through some of these chapters on the Jocko podcast, which I really like. But Make Your Bed and Wisdom of the Bullfrog by Admiral William McRaven.
Okay.
Very short books, easy read. Very. He was a Navy admiral, and just lessons that the military taught him that could apply to everyone's life in leadership, and just life in general. So those are great ones.
I've been trying to push our oldest to read more.
Yeah.
And I have. It's kind of a challenge.
Yeah.
I don't think they make them read as much
Yeah.
in school. It's like I remember growing up, we had to.
And then AI is gonna keep
Yeah,
them
I
from
know.
writing well.
I know.
Do you guys use that much for your business on either side?
Not really. I mean, I've been messing around with
Yeah.
some of the chat
Yeah.
GPT stuff. I mean, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
what it
it's
can do,
amazing.
and it is amazing. So
We're
it'll
just-
be real interesting to see where it goes.
Oh yeah, it's scary too.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
When it becomes self-aware, like Terminator.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Joe Rogan was talking about it, and he said, "Make sure you're kind to it. Say please and thank you because it has a memory, and when it takes over, you want it to."
Yeah. You wanted to remember. Oh, you were nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
So I'm
good.
always very careful. We were just as a team. We were at Milliken, the Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, Monday for a team meeting, and then a tour of the campus. But one of the things they talked about is how they've got classes in AI. So for people that are interested in that, she just went over some very practical uses of it, which I feel like every industry
Yes.
could utilize it, but we use it quite a bit in real estate. I've been talking to some of my Caterpillar friends, and they're starting to use it. I thought they'd be pushing it more from a design standpoint
Right.
and efficiency, but it sounds like not quite yet. They're
Yeah,
exploring it.
I'm sure it's coming.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other last pointers, tips, especially like investor wise? I mean, I feel
Yeah,
like that's
there's-
one I always get asked a lot.
Yeah.
Is what are some, especially the younger kids that are working for me at Crawford's, they like to ask me that, and what would be a couple you would give somebody young that's hasn't read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Well, yeah. So when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the things that stood out to me was to build your team, and build your team a real estate agent that you work well with. I'd love to be that guy, but I know that I'm not going to gel with everybody. So I'd advise people to interview real estate agents and find one that you do get along well with. A lender, financial advisor, an attorney, and so I took that to heart. And back in 2004, when I read that, this is very dated and makes me sound older than I am, but in that book, I think it even mentioned putting out an ad in the paper saying looking for a team. I did that. I paid for an ad, and a realtor called me, Mark Waldoff in Champaign, and he became my real estate agent for that area. For the Decatur area, I used Jessica Davis, who's no longer in real estate. I'm now their real estate agent, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but Mark Waldoff answered that and became my realtor. Helped me find my first. We went through a lot of crappy homes so I can appreciate when people are doing the same with me. That's how I was finding my first one. So the advice would be just build that team. Interview agents, read reviews, and really just be careful about the numbers too. I think people get in. For one, got in over my head on the first flip, and then it can burn you out quick. And you learn a lot, but this is a very risky thing. Maybe look for something a little more cosmetic for the first one, not be overly ambitious.
Yeah.
On your skill set, because it's a big time drain too.
It is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Tony.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thanks.
you coming on, and we'll have you on again some other time.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks.